Good evening. I'm Isidro Nieto, President of Weslaco ISD School Board of Trustees. This workshop is being conducted in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Notice that this workshop has been posted online for at least 72 hours. The time is now 5:40, and I will call this workshop to order. I will now begin the roll call. Even though we don't need a quorum, we do have a quorum for today's workshop. Mrs. Jackie Sustaita?
Present.
Dr. Jaime is out today. Coach Mando Cuellar?
Present.
Mr. Ben Castillo?
Present.
Coach Eddie Serna? He's
in the
back
back.
over there?
Yeah, he's
Okay.
back.
And, there he
There
is.
he is.
And Mr. Mark de los Santos.
Present.
Public comments, Dr. Rivera.
There are
Do we
none.
have any?
There are none.
Oh, okay. Okay, today we have an agenda item, so Dr. Rivera will present, and if he needs to have any of his group also present. And after each item, then I'll allow the Board of Trustees to ask questions. So we'll go one by one instead of waiting till the end. So that way, if you have any questions, please ask them tonight. The first one is update of HVAC projects. Dr.
Let
Rivera.
me call on Mr. Aguilar and Mr. Americo Garza.
Perfect.
Good afternoon, Dr. Rivera, members of the board. Before you, you have an update. This is for the HVAC retrofit projects for Memorial, Airport, Northbridge, and KWES Middle School. Now, we do have a timeline. This does not include the complete timeline, but just to give you the latest information that we've been working through at this time. On July 4th, and I'm just gonna summarize, pretty much you have it in front of you. Carrier Corporation did receive a letter from our attorney that we work with. It's Ms. Destiny Guessing. She's an attorney for Wash Gallegos. And this was due to their inability to make immediate and adequate progress based on their substantial completion schedule. Therefore, the letter was very specific on how Weslaco ISD was going to begin the process of initiating a surety bond claim for a breach of contract. Keep in mind that on May 13th, initially, they received notice of a potential claim was going to move forth. This was, Carrier received that, and they returned a response on May 16th with an action plan. Now, there was a traction, took place for about 4 to 6 weeks, but then everything slowed down, and this is what got us to moving forward with that surety bond claim. So if you look at July 18th, this is where they responded on there, and they responded in 3 phases for all 4 campuses that I mentioned. Keep in mind that no on-site work has begun for Northbridge Elementary and KWES Middle School. However, Carrier has assured that they will be completed by August 2026. Now, there's 3 different phases. Late this afternoon, we got some updated information from Carrier on those phases, but in a nutshell, phase 1 is finished temporary temperature controls work. This is the left wing of the campus at Airport and Memorial. This is initially was by August the 4th. They're indicating they can get it completed by the end of this week, which is July 31st. Phase 2 would be installing the new mechanical pads, concrete foundation work, chillers, pumps, and all other equipment by the end of 2025. And then phase 3 is going to be more of completing all 4 campuses by the end of 2026 of August. That would be phase 3. Now, this last week, we had a meeting on July 23rd, and that meeting consisted of Carrier. We have Mr. Robert Contelo, he's a project lead manager, Mr. Leo Munoz from Trinity MEP, and Destiny Guessing and our staff to discuss status, dates of completion, and written assurances. Again, Carrier Corporation has stated that all HVAC projects are to be completed by August 26th. And in addition, we have kind of pivoted our construction consultant. He is going to be moving forward and overseeing the HVAC projects. On the next page, Mr. Leo Munoz and he here stated some concerns during our meeting that have been addressed. We did have a follow-up meeting this morning with Mr. Contelo, and Carrier has assured that Memorial Airport will be operating by the end of the week. The main contacts that Weslaco ISD has been working with, Mr. Contello, and of course, Mr. Will McGee, which is the lead project engineer for these projects. As a district, we're going to continue coordinating with Destiny Guessing on any other concerns that may arise on these projects, and Mr. Sepulveda has reviewed the HVAC contracts, and this is to include the liquidated damages that Weslaco ISD has already initiated.
Anything else?
No, just to add that substantial progress has been made since that notice was submitted by our attorney. And so we have very good reason to believe that we're going to have a successful project at substantial completion going forward, as already specified here for next year.
Okay. At this time, I'll begin over here on the left. Ms. Ustaite, do you have any questions on this HVAC presentation?
Yes, I do. I was just jotting several notes down as you guys were talking. My first question is if you can explain to me, or to all of us, what is the cause of these delays? Why are we not where we're supposed to be?
So I can chime in on that. I think in a nutshell, the delay has been, one, a transition with leadership and the project manager through Carrier. That's been one of the factors. I believe there's also been some delay on the company, and that's what triggered us to move forward with the contract and getting legal involved and doing what we need to do to protect Weslaco ISD's best interest. But that's been in essence what it is. There's been some transition with leadership. I know Mr. Contello's here. He's been working very closely with us and keeping us up to date. But in a nutshell, that's what has been taking place.
Okay. I remember emailing Dr. Rivera maybe back in May or June, asking him, can you please give us an update? Because our last board meeting, it was just, oh, well, we have delays. So until I did that is when we were like, you know what, let's contact the lawyer. So I'm wondering, if I don't ask, or if any of us don't ask what's going on, would it just kind of been going through, or do we have a consultant or somebody, like you said, a consultant? Do we have somebody overseeing the projects, as in, let's get going? Americo, are you doing that, or who's in charge of this?
Yes, so I am in charge of the overall projects, and we are monitoring the progress. And so what prompted this initially was back in May, that we were supposed to see a substantial progress to the internal portion of the project scope within the campuses, and we weren't seeing that. So they did start off, and then it slowed down. And so right then and there, we started getting a little concerned and started asking questions, so forth, and that's what got us to this point, where we saw lack of progress after initially seeing their start on the project. And let me just add also that it's not just been Carrier transition of management on the project and administration, but also their subs. They're having a lot of concerns with the subs, which they've made adjustments. And as of, I want to say a couple of weeks ago, they've replaced that sub on the mechanical portion of the work. And so we're seeing progress pick up.
So
on the
you'll be
projects.
overseeing it, not a consultant? You'll be the one overseeing it from now till the end of the?
We're overseeing it, and then again, our hired consultant who's going to be helping us out on the field as well.
Okay, and now that you've mentioned subcontractors, I went back to the August 2024 meeting when we initially voted on this, whole HVAC and who was going to be getting it. And I remember Mr. Munoz standing there and telling us, his experience and what he's seen with everybody here in the Valley, and recommending 3 different contractors, 1 for each school. So my question is, now that we picked Carrier, the subcontractors that are on this project, if they, let's say, we're being delayed, right, with some of them, we can still switch, like you said, to a different subcontractor if the other ones aren't doing it, or that's part of what Carrier takes care of, or how are we involved in saying, come on, let's go?
So our part on the project, or at least our responsibility, is to reach out through our legal, through the bond.
Okay.
Carrier is the one that hires the subcontractor, so it'll be their responsibility to switch subcontractors.
So Carrier. Okay.
And so we would then, for lack of another term, apply pressure through our attorney.
2 more, just real quick. What was the original date for the completion for this HVAC to have been finished?
So there's 3 projects. The airport and memorial got placed together into one contract, so that's one project.
And when were the dates for that to be finished?
So Carrier received notice to proceed for Memorial and Airport. The date was October 2024 through August 2025.
Okay.
Okay, and then for That's for Memorial and Airport. For notice to proceed for North Bridge was February 2024 through December 2025.
Okay,
And for notice to proceed for Cuellar, January 2025 through October 2025.
okay, so then saying we'll be done by August, we're still kind of there in the timeframe that they said they were going to complete, correct?
So, no, this is where
No.
those were the initial notices to proceed. Right now, the
Phase
plan
one
that
only?
they submitted, everything should be completed by August 2026.
Okay, that's almost a year later, right? Like, let's say with Memorial and Airport. instead
That
of
is
August
correct.
2020. So is this costing the district money with those liquidated damages? Or what is this costing us with these delays, if any costs that we're?
So we've initiated the liquidated damages, and that's something that we are working through right now through
Okay.
legal, as what
Okay.
we have for the contract, so we are working through that.
All right, those were my questions. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Good question. You took one of mine, so it's, Coach Guerra?
Well, Jackie pretty much touched on what's going on, but, you know, every year when we start the school year, there are campuses that don't have something that's on or not functioning. Are we gonna start the school year with that same problem, or are all the campuses gonna be having functional units so that we have good quality air and a good conducive environment for learning?
So typically that happens, Coach Cuellar, because we tend to do our maintenance during the summer, or vice versa. You know, we're looking at some campuses and others. If we don't have anybody in the campus, we don't get called from the campuses as we're trying to catch up on work or maintenance on other campuses. And so that's what kind of catches up to us once the school starts, when the teachers come back and they start reporting problems, and then we're repairing those. But right now, as far as these campuses are concerned, all the systems are working, and we're working to ensure that everything else is working as well.
So you have to be notified to crank them on, even though we know we're gonna start school?
No,
on
not
a
necessarily,
given day?
not necessarily to turn them on, but that there is a problem with them, that they didn't come on.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. So as far as turn them on, we turn them on, but we're not aware of whether there's a problem or not unless somebody at the campus will let us know in a lot of situations. But for the most part, we tend to focus on the maintenance of the major campuses, which are the chillers as well, and we're looking at everything right now.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Coach Guerra. Mr. Ben Castillo?
Yes, Mr. Board President. I mean, this project's been very frustrating, very disappointing. I mean, it got first initiated February of, right after I got elected, it's been ongoing since then. So it's only gonna be 3 years that this thing has been pending. To me, I think we give Carrier one more chance, and if they don't, we just cut them off and go out for bid for a design build like Schneider, Johnson, E3, one of those folks, and just have them get it done. I mean, I think this thing's been pending for too much. The kids at Memorial, Airport, and Northbridge, you know, they deserve better. So that's just kind of my comments on it. Again, it's a super frustrating project. And if the contractor can't get it done, they can't get it done. Let's just move on, file a claim with the surety for any kind of lost value that we get because of the timing of the bid, and just go with a different vendor that can't get it done. But those are my comments.
Good points. Coach Serna?
Well, I'm the same way as Ben. I'm thinking about, you know, if they can't come through, I think we need to look at another avenue. And then I guess lesson learned, what do we learn from this? You know, I'm curious, because I came in at the end after all of this was, you know, it had gone through, I came in at the tail end of it. But I guess what are the lessons learned from this? Was it too much for Carrier to do? I mean, I don't know. I would want us to move forward, you know, learning something from this, and hopefully we can get it right.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think, we discussed that before. Each school or each phase should have been a different architect or a different company, whatever. So that way each one would have 2 campuses or 1 campus, so that way we could have finished. Because, it's important that we do. Mr. De Los Santos?
No, I agree on the points that they all mentioned. My thing is also kind of like with piggybacking off Sustaitas is the process, the timeline. Because when we had presentations on this is our first run. It's not even in the bond projects yet phase, right? This is using general fund money. So we had presentations from the architects, and I'm going to give you a time too, because I see you're ready to present. So giving them time, right? I guess this is our first time that we're going to do this, so we have to kind of really learn from this. It's a learning process. So we were presented that we were going to get weekly reports, people were going to be on site, they were going to be visiting the installation or the construction. And I'm not talking about yourself, Mr. Medico, I'm talking about the actual, like the engineers and also the contractors as well too. Like we had all these presentations and everybody had kind of the same method and structure of the board was going to be informed. Because at the end of the day, I understand that you're supervising and you have the superintendent, but the power of the purse falls with the board. We're the ones that say yes or no to companies and approve or disapprove. And why did we wait till July 1st is kind of my question to actually send. Why, like as soon as we saw in August that there wasn't grass, you know, we didn't see machinery, we didn't see things moving in August, in May, where was the process there of saying, hey, let's go? Because you have to. Anybody that works in construction, you know that you have to, they're sitting out here right now. You got to make phone calls, you got to follow up. Hey, you're going to go out there. You just don't hope that they show up or they're not arriving. You make phone calls, you're on it. Anybody, no matter whether residential, commercial. I know because I live it. You got to call, you got to check, and are they there? And is the machines there? Are the people there? Are things getting done? But we were told we were going to get reports consistently every single week, that we would get update reports on every single project. And that's kind of my question here. Could this have been preventable, right? That's just my statement. Yeah, you don't have to give me an answer. I agree with what you're saying. I agree with everybody else is saying too. This is where we as the board hold companies accountable, right? Just like we gave the approval to move forward, whether with or without the administration's recommendation. But this is the point where you then sit them at the podium, because we still have a lot of work to do, right? And nobody wants to lose work. So the question is, how did this happen? How do we get out of this situation? And how do we make sure it never happens again, you know? And I'd like to transition, and I'd like to give an opportunity for the engineer. Yeah, Mr. Munoz to come up and say, because I know I see that he's anxious to give his comments, and I want your feedback. Over there, sir, so we can all hear you.
And before he begins, I just want to make sure, you know, as a board member, and like Mark said, and Jackie, you know, when the schools get started, especially these schools.
Right.
And especially as hot as it's been, I want them to be comfortable, you know, learning and so forth, instead of having to worry about
Right.
this. You know, those particular campuses, you know, is.
And our process too, I mean, I understand we have once a month, kind of like we asked for the workshop right in July. We
Correct.
do once a month meetings, but I've seen in the past in other school districts, they have projects going on, they're meeting, special
Yeah.
meetings, updates, and holding accountability. So that's kind of one of the things too. But Mr. Munoz, you have the floor.
Okay, Mr. Munoz.
What happened?
Thank you for inviting me, and I'm happy to give you an update on what's going on. August 1st, 2024, I stood before you and offered you an uncomfortable recommendation, not very favorable. It took a lot for me to go against the will of the people, the will of the board, and state my recommendations. Everything, if you go back to that video and you see the meeting again that I told you, has come true. I'm here to answer your questions. You're not asking questions. I'm not going to answer any questions that are not asked.
Right.
What do you want to know?
So my
I'm not
question-
going to tell you.
Yeah. Right, what your feelings, you're
Yeah.
gonna tell us facts.
Yeah.
So number one would be as to once the deadline, the window opened for construction, where did the ball get dropped that somebody didn't inform somebody? Because I didn't know. I didn't know that the wheels didn't start turning. I didn't know that machines weren't arriving. I didn't know that subcontractors, et cetera, weren't arriving on site. I mean, so where was the first hiccup there in getting this project moving forward?
I told you all, the contract that you all selected
Right.
is not suited to do this kind of work.
Okay.
So they had to learn a lot to get where they're at right now. I kept on calling and emailing questions, and I can't offer you a report if nothing's been done. All I
Right.
can tell you is nothing's been done.
Yeah, nothing was done. They just didn't show up to start. Or what would typically happen in, like, that's what I'm asking. I guess we're all curious. What would typically happen if the window's open, right? Because you said a window, what was the window you said, Medical, for Memorial and Airport? You said from October 2024
So
to
the-
August 2025. That was a construction window, or that was when the process?
Notice to proceed.
Notice to proceed. So that means you got the green light to get going, right?
October 2024.
To August 2025 was the deadline. They were notified of lack of progress on July 1st.
So the very first thing you do is provide a submittal on the equipment you're going to install.
Right.
I still haven't gotten it.
Well, see, information, right? That would have been great to know. And then what else?
The biggest piece of equipment, which is
Did you submit that to administration? That,
know
that,
about
that,
it.
that,
Yeah.
that you didn't receive that about the equipment? You did?
Yeah, I mean, we received it real late in the game, and they still haven't gotten an approved submittal on the major components of the system. So that would be the first step, you know. Submittals are not approved. If you don't have an air handler right now, you can't install it tomorrow.
Right.
And some of these air handlers take, 4-6 months to get built. So the schedule they give you there looks pretty on paper, but what are they doing to actually execute that schedule?
Right.
Yeah.
You're talking about reserving equipment, getting like those type of
Buying
things?
the equipment, show me that you paid for the equipment.
Right.
So that I can know you have.
Whose responsibility does that fall on? And I'm not trying to place blame here, but like who typically, so we know for the next one, is that administration? Should we get a consultant? Because I know you're busy too, you have your own business.
You can hire a project manager or
Right.
a third party to help you in construction, but, I mean, you have a team that's been doing it right now. I mean, if you want to expedite things, maybe
Right.
you can hire somebody else to handle construction.
Right, like in my case, like as a trustee out of the rest of the board, I need somebody to say, not the superintendent, he has a full schedule, Americo has a full schedule with normal operations. Somebody that can raise the flag and say.
Well, I mean, I don't know who you have in charge of that.
Yeah, and I don't know either. I don't know who they had. Didn't they have somebody on before?
You all
Project
have
manager?
millions of dollars in bond work
With no project manager.
with no, well, yeah, you could be a project manager. It can just be somebody who you hired. I mean, the burden
And we
falls
don't
on
have
them. They have a lot on their plate, and they rely on good contractors to help them through the process.
Right, and they know the industry, they know the people, they know who to pick up the phone call and say, hey, where are we at and why are you not here, those type of things. That's what I'm trying to get to, like, how can we fix this better? Because to say that we're gonna do it internal doesn't work.
But what you got to do is you have to hire reputable people.
Right,
That's what you got to do. Reputable contractors
right,
who have performed in the past. Everybody has problems, but for the most part, they performed well,
Right.
that you can recommend them.
okay,
Carrier today, a year after, hasn't finished any of the projects that they started working 2 years ago.
right.
So there's not just here, but in other school districts. So are they going to finish yours? If you want me to give you my honest opinion, I can, but I'd rather just leave it
No,
up to
I
you.
don't want to do that either, yeah. I don't want to, like,
So
there's
I
your
think
professional-
originally
your
you-
professionalism, yeah, I know where you stand, like, you're in it,
Yeah.
Mr. Los Santos, you had a good point there that I think, especially with the projects of that magnitude, you should have somebody,
Yes.
like you said, a project manager to oversee those.
Right, and it's worth the investment, because like I said, when things, you're using internal staff and that are already consumed by a large district of 16,000 kids, you need somebody that you can pay. The taxpayer may not be fond of it, but at the end of the day, it does give you back a benefit, and there is some wins on that as far as timeline and completion of projects. So that's kind of my question, because I didn't know we had somebody yet, but obviously you stated it was your department that was kind of given that task. Is Carrier here today, or subcontractors, or any of their representation here?
They are.
I'd love to hear from them too, just to get I want to give everybody a fair opportunity to kind of say,
I do want to add, I know Americo and his team do have their periodic meetings with.
Right.
And the schedules, and they do follow up with everything, and they've been on top of that. We started meeting at administration back in March, April.
Right.
We had multiple meetings with staff, Carrier and Trinity, discuss where we were at.
Right.
Where we initiated the first notice through legal was on May 13th. That was the first notice that went out for a possible breach of contract.
Okay.
That was in May. And they started off strong, but since they didn't get the ball rolling, we went to the next step.
Yeah.
So we didn't start in July. We started having those discussions March, April, when we were having, why everything was stalling. Through that time, there was a different project lead manager, and this is where Mr. Contello came in.
right. And in no way, just for public record, just a public statement, that am I putting blame on the administration at all, or Dr. Rivera? They have a massive amount of duties already, Monday through Friday, and even in the weekends, dealing with a 16,000 student district. But my thing is now going off of those gaps and those things that we're missing. One, okay, reconsidering the options of probably spending more, but hiring more subcontractors, I understand. And also that other key, that project manager piece, right? So that's where I'm at right now, up to date, until I hear what he has to say. As a trustee, I see that is worth the investment, right? And so, yeah.
And if I may add, so the gauge for us is the internal work that had to be done at the campuses, and so that couldn't be done until after the school year.
Right.
And so that's why it started in May.
Right.
Once we saw them, or we started pressing for them to show us the results, And they did start off strong, and then suddenly it died down, and that's what got us concerned.
And like I understand the weather, right? We don't know, we're not looking at weather. You're looking at rain patterns, you're looking at ACs. I mean, you know, there's things that people have delays for, so I get it. But this is no way of, we're gonna put blame, it's just how do we fix this for the next one and, or structure ourselves. Sir?
Yes, sir.
Robert Cantello with Carrier. Many failures from the very beginning, and unfortunately, I had to step into this. Dealing with a contractor, kind of as Leo said, that is impossible to work with, and finally convincing Carrier to exit that contractor and get an additional contractor. And it may be possibly 2 or 3 more by the time we're done. I see that in the future. The biggest priority right now is to get 2 schools back online. We are putting in temporary controls because we've disabled your controls once we started taking VAVs out. The VAVs are back installed. We've got to go through a couple inspections, get them insulated. The automated control systems are already on the VAVs. We're installing new controls, temporary, on your existing air handlers. That'll get you through the school year. We'll continue to add those air handlers through the school year so you won't be blind to your facilities. And we're just talking airport and Memorial. Thank goodness we didn't touch Northbridge or Quaylar, because we would be a lot worse than we are right now. I have no excuses for Carrier. They bit off more than they can chew. Point blank. Any questions?
Ms. Sustaita, any questions you have for?
I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to come up here and say, you know, this is what we're doing wrong. My question to you is, I remember Carrier was based out of Florida. Do you work here in the Valley? Or
I'm
are you-
actually from Waco. I've
Okay.
been down here since April. When did Aaron leave? April? I
So
came
the
down
sub-
when the previous PM left.
So the subcontractors that you are working with right now are people you have never worked with before?
Omar, the original contractor, no, I've never worked with him before.
Okay,
I have seen his work throughout the valley, and I made a decision pretty quick once I got down here what actions I needed to take. But I deal with the corporation, and I had to fight that corp to get what I needed.
well, thank you. Thank you for coming here and explaining. I remember, I like to learn from what we've done in the past, and I watched our August 1st meeting several times. And this exact same situation that we wanted to prevent is exactly what happened. So I find it kind of ironic, you know, that we were trying to find the best solution. Some of us up here did state, well, we're a little weary. It might be better to have one contractor for each school.
Trust your
But
gut.
it didn't happen that way, and I'm hoping that we can just continue to fix. So I appreciate you coming. Thank you.
Coach Craig, any questions?
Check your way of
Okay. Mr. Castillo?
Yeah, you said something right now that Carrier bit off too much that it could chew. Well, they're telling us it could be done by August 2026. Do you think it could be done by August 2026?
I'm telling you it can be done by then.
You're telling?
Yes, sir.
All right, so it's not Carrier, it's you.
Everything you see in that document right there has come from me.
So you think we could be done by August 2026?
Yes,
The
sir.
other 2 schools, correct?
They got new subs.
All 4 schools.
All 4 schools, okay?
All right.
Continue.
And I'm not going to be doing it with one contractor.
Okay.
That was an impossible task to begin with.
Coach Senda? No. Mr. Martin?
So I guess my question, thank you for your honesty. Thank you for, the statements you made. I guess the next thing would be for the district. I remember back then too, there was a discussion that, I don't know what trustee said it, but they brought it up. They said, when we hire a contractor, this could kind of go into a medical. You're okay, sir, if you want to sit down. That was my last question. But a medical, you had stated that if we hire a contractor, Carrier, Train, whoever it is out there that we E3, all these different companies, that when they bring in the contract back to us to review, that they would submit a list of subcontractors, right? That's something that we can follow in and look at for the
Yeah,
next
that's-
time.
That's part of the ranking criteria.
Yeah.
The subcontractors that they have. Yes,
Okay.
sir. So we did ask for that as well here.
But they only submitted one, right? That was the thing?
Right,
They
so
only
they
use one
submitted their subcontractor. We checked the references that were provided. Nothing came back as
Right.
having any
Yeah.
negative reviews or anything.
But at the end of the day, let's say, I'm not saying we're gonna, anything with Carrier, or they're the primary company to be used in the future. But going back, we could have just said, hey, you only have one subcontractor, I think you need some more. Is that something that the district is allowed to do, or has the power to
Yes.
do?
We can.
Okay. All right, that's, thank you. No, just wanted to know. that.
Any other questions on this topic?
No question, just a comment for me, because it's been on my mind that, you know, when we ask people to come in and talk to the board and people with experience, years of experience that have been doing this, we should really pay attention to what they're telling us. You know, sometimes we get in our own head that I know what's right and I know, but it's really good to listen to others who have that experience because they're telling us for a reason, right? So as board members, our job is to listen to what they're telling us and then, yes, make a decision. We can make whatever decision we want to make, but it's a good thing to listen to others and.
No, I agree totally, because a lot of times the committee and the medical, they recommend certain projects or certain architects, whatever. I don't know about them, so I have the confidence that whatever they're gonna present, like Mr. Leo Munoz presented that day, to have 3 different ones. And I wanted 3 different ones because those projects were pretty hectic, you know? And I think Mark mentioned that, you know, him being a contractor, he's gone through that before. And again, it's a lesson learned, and we'll just have to move forward. And thank you for your honesty there, Mr. All right, let's go on to number 4, update on SB 1481, personal communication devices. Dr. Rivera.
Let me call on Mr. Butterman.
Good evening, Dr. Rivera, Mr. Nieto, and members of the board. Well, with each legislative session, bills are passed, and at times we have to react to them. House Bill 1481 is no different. It's been signed, and we need to limit the use of personal communication devices in our schools. The intent is real simple, right? Maintain focus on learning, minimize disruptions. With that said, the commissioner's call from this past week shed a lot of light on this, that again, something is being built while it's in the air in this case. We're supposed to get final recommendations coming out on August 7th from TEA in reference to HB 1481. Some of the things that we do know is they will be providing us with a non-competitive grant or opportunities to help working with HB 1481. And again, we continue then to make sure that we need to have updated policies. We are working with TASB to bring the trustees the policies that will be voted on in reference to this. For us here at WISD, it's taken, again, laws get passed and we start to work with teams, we work with our principals, and there's some of the things that we're looking at, again, to be responsive with our community as we move forward. So a couple things that we're looking at is this, real simple, right? Historically, these devices have not been a major disruption in our schools. Yes, from time to time we do experience some things we have to work with, has not been a major disruption. Commissioner said it the other day in a meeting on Thursday, and I think we agree, we're looking at, if we bring a device, they just need to be put away. School day starts, device is put away, school day concludes, students can have their devices. We know the law provides that, again, if there's a medical need, if there's an academic need, or we also know that we have some of the advanced coursework where they may need to have a phone for some verifications, those are definitely within our limits. For us, again, as long as they're not a major disruption, we're seeking just to have them put away. We continue to work with our teams to make sure that we can, again, do this in a manner that we can be responsive to our community, not be disruptive, be in line with the bill or the law. And if you have any questions, I'm welcome to take any of those questions at this time.
We'll start with Mr. Los Santos.
No, I don't have any questions.
Mr. Castillo?
So what's our proposed policy? What are we going to do?
So right now, we are looking at basically allowing our students to carry as long as they are put away. We are looking to have some flexibility working with the high schools, again, knowing that we have some older students and there may be some needs. And then again, we are waiting some more of our direction that's going to come out from TEA. But again, that's kind of where we're headed to with this. We do not want to make this a major disruption for our school administrations. Our big thing is, first and foremost, student learning.
So put it in your backpack, keep it off.
That's the intent.
When are we going to bring that policy for board review?
The intent is that we can get it from TASB, we want to bring it August 11th,
When does school start?
August 18th. Yes,
Cut it
sir.
in short. All right, cool.
And I think that's where we have to notify parents, and parents have to understand that. Not just the students, the parents are very important.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Can I just pick a back off of
Yes,
that?
sir.
Because in the past, you said, we kind of already had that already in place.
Yes.
But we're still going to allow them that once the bell rings, before and after school, they'll be able to use their devices on
They
campus.
may use their devices.
Right. Okay, it's
You
the same.
need to get clarification on that, because they define instructional days bell to bell from
Right.
8 to the last bell.
To the last bell,
And
right.
again, Mr.
And after-
Castillo, what initially came out with 1481 indicates that.
Because,
In the commissioner's call this past Thursday, he said, some of you may just, again, and this isn't verbatim, but basically he said, some of you may just choose to have students put them away. Right? So again.
No, yeah, put them away, but whether they could use them in between classes, I don't think the law allows you.
oh,
to
no,
do
I meant after the school.
Oh,
They
sorry.
allow them
I
to,
misunderstood.
they allow them to take them out before school and after school.
Yes, you're right. I'm sorry.
On
I
campus.
misheard you.
But
Because
not-
some parents think that you can't have it on campus at all.
but
No,
not-
no, you
but
can't. I've been
not
telling
during-
them que no.
How about the lunch hour?
No.
And again,
What did it state?
those are areas right now that we may have some local discretion on, and that's what we're waiting, a little
Okay.
more waiting on. I can tell you, we have our high school principals here. They've been in discussions with us about that. And again, that may be an area that, again, based on the age of the student.
I could
Right.
give you the answer. We've
maturity
been
of the
giving this presentation all over the state. Lunch counts as the instructional day.
Lunch counts as the
So no more
instructional day.
kids asking mom or dad, bring me something to eat for lunch, or no more.
Unless they do it before.
I think
Deliveries.
that's where we have to find out exactly, because, again, as a parent and as a former principal, is lunch part of the instructional period? For me, my opinion, no, it's not.
I agree with you.
I don't think so
Statute-
either.
The statute defines
Right,
it.
no, I understand, that's why I'm saying.
Yeah.
So-
And so we have to get high school, as long as we're consistent. I don't want, or we don't want one elementaries to have certain
Right.
rules and elementaries altogether, okay? Middle schools and then high schools, because like you mentioned, sometimes they might have to use their device in one of their AP courses, right? So high school's a little bit different. Middle schools have to be different. And then, of course, elementary, but consistent overall.
And I think we agree with that, and that's why we have met with all middle school principals and high school principals. And again, we do want to have something that is consistent across the three levels.
And basically what I'm telling my folks is this is the first year this is being implemented. There's going to be things we're going to have to tweak here and there.
Yeah.
So don't feel bad. We're all experimenting. But yeah, the way it reads, that's the way it reads. But yeah.
Okay,
And again, the initial came out, Mr. Castillo, but I can tell you then in the commissioner's call last Thursday, your ears perk up when he says, just put them away.
Yeah, like put them in your backpack.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need to buy pouches.
okay. Consuelo, any comment? Mrs. Sustaita?
Yes, my question is, this is going to be in a legal policy, or it's just a statute that?
No, it should be going as part of our local policy also.
Okay, I was going to say, because local policy, the board has the power to change the local policy. So if anything, would we be able, well, legal's not here, but we have somebody else who knows legal. Would we be able to add that, well, during lunch, the kids can use it if we see it's a necessity in our local policy?
If the statute allows it. So that's kind of the question.
Yes.
What's the interpretation?
And as long as the principals, it's their campus, and they'll decide, like, okay, is there something, like I mentioned at lunch, it's not up to us. It's up to them. Is it gonna interfere with their learning? Now, I like I said, my opinion, not during lunch. But again, it's easier to say from the morning till the afternoon. It's easier for the principals, just to say you're not gonna use it during lunch.
Yeah.
But again, that's something that we'll have to
And you
work with.
mentioned consistency and discipline. When it comes to discipline and consistency and discipline, there's going to be kids who defy always the rules, the orders. Also keeping, of course, I don't have to tell you, the discipline consistent, because who gets the calls? Us, the board. Well, this, well, that. So So I know you guys will do a great job. I mean, we're all learning right now how to take care of this. But my question though is I know as a teacher on my phone, I had to have that little Raptor app or the Raptor system. Teachers will be able to have their phone for this?
Yeah, this is kids.
This is just.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was also teachers or it's just the kids.
And
Okay.
and again, their principals have certain guidelines that teachers have to follow.
Yeah.
They have, depending on their curriculum, depending on, like the coaches when they, or sponsors that have a group text, whatever, that's up to them.
So now that you bring that up, I know some coaches or some teachers during the day, they would send messages on Remind, well, for this period, you're gonna go here. For 8th period, instead of going here, you're gonna go, we're meeting outside in the track. How are we going to, well, that's up to you guys, that's management.
That's up to them.
But there's gonna be something where the kids can get a hold of their teachers or their coaches during the day.
One of the benefits that we have is that we do have our students that already have laptops. So they're still
Okay.
able to communicate with their
Email.
laptops and Chromebooks. So they're still able to communicate with their students, whether it's mainly through the Chromebook, which is what we're trying to enforce a little bit more, so they can get used to using Chromebook more,
Yeah.
instead of being on their phone, which may need to be distraction with social media or whatever it is that we're doing. So.
It's a good plan.
And you still have announcements that can be made where information that has to be disseminated can be done through the PA.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, so Mr. Buttermer, you take care of that and with the principals and follow up and we'll be okay.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Now let's go to item number 5, update on federal programs funding. Dr. Rivera.
Yes, Mrs. Solano,
Yes.
that's good information.
We got all the money.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Nieto, members of the board, Dr. Rivera. So this slide looked a little different, right? Last Thursday, but we
Yes.
all received notification. Letter A, you'll see that June 30th, early July, we received notification that the federal funds, some federal funds had been frozen, right? To include our migrant education, supportive, effective instruction education, your Title II, your Title III, English language acquisition, which impacts our EBs, and Title IV, student support and academic enrichment, to include then Title IV-B, which was our ACE programs, right? Then we received, on July 21st, we received notification that for ACE, they had been released, those funds had been released. So happy, right, notification. We were still waiting a whole week on the other funds. But our commissioner on Thursday, right, when he was on the call, he said, I will not address the federal funding because as much as you know, I know, right? We were all still waiting on Thursday. Thank goodness on Friday, July 25th, the United States Department of Education notified TA, right, that they will be releasing the remainder of the fundings, which were released today, July 28th. So, however, if you see letter C, we are studying as a district all state and federal grant positions as they may not be funded after this school year. These positions will only be available via grant funding, right? So we are cautiously studying that, and if we were to be faced in the same predicament next year, what would that imply, and what can we do to move forward?
Thank you, Ms. Solano. Questions, Mrs. Sustaita?
No question but comment.
Okay.
I know that I was receiving emails and I was sending those to Dr. Rivera. I'm pressuring him. What can we do? And I just want to thank you, Dr. Rivera, because you were looking for some way to help the employees who got that short notice that they weren't going to be paid in July. So of course there was a lot of panic with some of our employees, and Dr. Rivera, he didn't say no. He said, I'm working to see what we can do to help them. But I'm very glad that you were there to see what we could do. And the last bullet, C, you're still studying for next year. What if this isn't available, and those people who are part of this, like Dr. Rivera said, if you're pending a certification as a teacher, or you're pending something that can get you a permanent job here in Weslaco, go for it this year. Don't wait. Get to it already, because time flies. But thank you, Dr. Rivera, and thank goodness the funds were released.
Coach Cuellar?
But we had a plan just in case, and it was a good plan.
Very true. Coach Cuellar?
I saw that in the update, Dr. Rivera, and as always, you're always looking for a way to make things work, and That's just your nature, you know? That's why we're very, very fortunate to have you in the position
We're
you're
gonna
in.
have ACE after school and pay them a stipend. So we're gonna keep ACE, had this not occurred. No, again, we had a plan. It would have worked.
So does that mean we have extra funds?
Yeah.
Oh, but we can't say that, right?
Yeah, no.
Okay. Mr. Castillo?
Yes, just thank you guys. That was a crazy time, kind of taking the calls from the employees who were, understandably panicking. So I appreciate you, Dr. Rivera, for taking our calls and being patient with us as well. I have a question on the federal funding as far as our food program. I know that we've talked about this before, but I want to ask, is it okay if we go out for an RFP or RFQ for some type of after-school supper program for the district?
I think it's a good plan. Mr. Robel?
Our current food service program will be the ones actually doing the preparation and serving.
Yeah, but it's a snack. Can we go out for one for dinner?
We had already applied for the supper and it is.
Oh, okay, good. That's new information.
At all elementaries, it's gonna be, hopefully, the kids from ACE will
Right.
participate, but we are actually opening it for all.
Amazing. If you guys could advertise that, that'd be great.
That would
It
be,
just barely happened like a week ago.
Can you explain to me, like, how can the other kids who aren't in ACE get the dinner at school?
Just
They
like
just
the
skip it.
breakfast and lunch, they go through the line to get served. We will be having our, one of our cafeteria managers, kind of like the one in charge. We do have extra staff. In a sense, all the staff will be working overtime. And so,
And this is right after school before they go to the pickup area, or how does that work?
it will be
How
at
will
a
it work?
designated time.
Oh, okay.
That I could find out. But in lieu of the snack, it's now going to be a supper. And
That's
so,
really good.
just like the summertime
Yeah.
where we have designated sites, public could come to the campus and have their kids fed from 0 to 18. Now it's going to be usually by that grade
Oh,
level.
wow.
So the pre-K3 all the way up
Okay.
to the 5th graders. So at pretty much every elementary will be providing.
That's
supper.
really great news. I haven't heard of any other district doing
I
that,
haven't
so
heard
that
that
would
either.
be something great to
Yeah, that's
share with the
awesome.
community.
We don't
Or
know
we'll
the,
have-
we don't know the time element yet, right?
it's a
I'm
30,
pretty sure Ms. Becky does. And
Oh,
what
okay.
I'll do, I will work with the superintendent to get a
Get an
work
update.
date.
Okay.
And this is for every school, or certain schools?
Right now, we are doing it for, well, actually, let me clarify. We have been doing it for our high schools, because the way that program kind of worked out, kind of like if I were to go to an after-school program or
Yeah.
athletics, either right before or right after, they would then go to the lunchtime.
Yeah.
Middle schools have been kind of off and on, and so what I'll do, I'll make sure we get all three versions.
Okay,
Okay.
that sounds good.
Thank you.
High schools will still be included in that?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Coach Serna?
no, it's a very good thing for our kids, especially, well, all levels, all levels.
Mr. Los Santos?
Yes. Well, on the federal programs, thank you for touching up on that topic. It was very important that those people had an update, right? Because I know it was very scary for a lot of individuals. A lot of different districts were, taking different steps and measures. The funding could have been held on for quite some time, and that would have kind of caused some financial stress for some districts. But the great thing is those funds were released. And so I just hope that everybody has their grants in and submitted so that they can get their no-goods. All right, that is the case here? Okay, good. And,
For the official.
all right.
Yes, but all of our paperwork has been submitted.
Right, okay. And so, yeah, that was kind of one of the reasons that, the topic's on here, was just to give everybody confirmation that they do have employment, funding is coming. And at the end of the day, I think regardless of the fact, like near the end, that was kind of one of the things that prior, this was requested before the award. But was that, as the board, like I said, we also are responsible for the budget. And then sometimes we make a lot of investments in different areas, non-human capital, track and fields, LED lightings, things like that of that nature. I know the 80s probably listening to me right now thinking, why are you picking me out, right? But we do spend on a lot. We also have to spend on services to students. We always have to keep that a priority too, as far as that human investment, right? And that staff. And so I'm glad everything worked out. Thank you to the administration and whatnot. And then on the food program, there's districts that have that already. They that have been operating that. I want to say it was like a 30 or 45-minute window. I know where I was working at, they were looking at it too. But it's really great because you're not only providing food to kids, but you're going to have a great return as well financially, right? Looking at it from both aspects, right? That you're serving the community, you're serving kids a hot meal. Some of them may not have that or the quality of that when they go home. But then on the flip side of that for the community, those are extra funds that you're going to be receiving as well too. And I know because I looked into that one. That's the USDA program, right? And so you can generally feed every single student pretty much if you were able to run them through that every single day, Monday through Friday. So that's a really great program. I'm glad you all looked into that and got that going as well too.
Okay.
So,
That's awesome.
And
awesome job.
I think Ms. Solano mentioned bullet number C, and I think Jackie mentioned that one too, that it's very important that, of course, Dr. Rivera and your
yes.
staff follow up on those ACE coordinators.
Yes.
So they can understand that, you know what, apply for some of our positions are going to be permanent. Because if next year we don't get the federal funding, then they don't have that position. And we won't have the additional money unless we have 16,000 students. We only have 14,000, whatever it is, right?
And I
So it's very important.
I
Go ahead,
forgot
Mark.
also too, letter C, that was a really big portion of why I wanted to have the meeting. Well, I wanted this topic on here as well too, because it's not just a responsibility of voters, and not just a responsibility of trustees or superintendents, but also our congressional representation, right? You have Monica de la Cruz, you know, she's from Brownsville, first Hispanic Republican representative in Congress. You have also Vicente Gonzalez as well. He's part of the other district here in South Texas. So it's not just ACE. You have multiple federal funding programs that are under review. Actually, you have the whole Department of Ed.
Yes, you do.
That may not be existent, right, in the coming year. But these are all programs and services that service South Texas especially. You know, look at what you're looking at, migrant education, supporting English language acquisition, after-school programs for at-risk, economic disadvantaged students. These are very, very important programs that service our kids and give parents in our community an advantage. So everybody should be stepping up and saying, we shouldn't have waited this long for other states to file lawsuits, you know, because of the accusations of why the funds were being frozen. That, you know, and I'm going to say it because it was put out by the Department of Ed because radical propaganda was being spread through these programs. You're initiating, the Department of Ed at the time, the administration is stating that Texas, okay, through TEA was spreading propaganda through these programs that were cycling through school districts. That's the reality of the accusation. And a lot of people should have stepped up. You know, I'm glad so many Republican senators and Republican representatives in other states sent a letter off too to kind of get the ball rolling on funding getting released, but we should have two here because I'm telling you what, the school districts here in South Texas, the superintendents and these programs, they've done nothing but serve kids and properly and trying to educate them the proper way. I know because I have first access to some of these programs in the school district I work and never did I see anything questionable. So everyone's been doing a great job, and I think that later on, like you said, next year when this topic comes up, a lot of us need to step up and kind of voice it. Hey, you should leave this funding alone. There's a lot of other things that they need to focus on rather than these type of programs.
Good
that
point,
service
Mr.
kids.
Los Santos.
Thank you.
Last thing.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just real last, I know I was reading this, may not be funded. Is there a timeline? Do you know if there is a possible timeline when they're going to let us know if it is going to be funded or?
We don't know.
We don't know.
That's-
We don't know
They
yet.
discuss it again next spring.
In
I
the
think.
next open session that they
So it
have.
would be like next spring?
Yes.
where-
Spring into summer.
Because we kind of got put in the jam
Oh, yeah.
this summer.
On July 3rd.
Yes.
Just like how every year we submit applications, we normally hear about it before the year ends.
Right.
Right.
And so you saw how this year went. June 30th, we should receive notice saying, hey, congratulations, go ahead and start using your new dollars if needed.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you saw the notice from the federal government.
So
So,
But on C, it's not just students.
Right.
You know, it's,
no,
it's not only staff, it's also students. because
Right.
They need these programs.
Yes, the after-school programs.
And what he was talking about as far as the June 30th notice was because they give you a pre-commencement award. So they kind of say, hey, you can already bring staff in July, start working with the admin and things like that. But here it was like freeze and halt and you're done for the year.
I don't think we'll be in a situation like that again. I'm sure we'll get a prior notice, way more. We're in transition between administrations, right? So next year, we're not gonna be, or
Hopefully
the
not.
federal government's not gonna be in that.
Hopefully not. Hopefully they'll give us.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they're gonna cut it. They'll give us prior, a whole lot of notice.
All right.
Good
Any
news,
other
though, for this
comments?
year.
But if we don't, we gotta find a way to serve these students
Yeah.
locally.
Yeah, no, I
Definitely.
agree with you.
Yes,
Definitely. All right, let's continue on to item 6, update on 2024 budget and 2025-2026 budget. Dr. Rivera.
So as we start thinking about how last year ended, so this is in my head the 24-25 school year or fiscal year. It finished back on June 30th. So we are in the middle of closing out last year. We will be working with our external auditors to do the preliminary field work, and that usually happens between September and October, so that we can have a final report ready for board approval for November. So that is our deadline for TEA to submit our annual comprehensive financial report. And so as we kind of get closer to that November date, we will be providing updates as to how we anticipate how the school year will end. And so, but November 25th, that's when we'll have the official report ready for everyone's review.
Okay, but I know several of the board members had questions on this, so I'll start with Mr. De Los Santos. You have some slides? Oh,
We do have a few more
I
slides.
thought you had already finished. All right, my mistake.
So-
Go ahead.
No problem.
I didn't see anything up there, so.
So one of the questions dealt with enrollment. And so as we kind of go back to
There you go.
how are we doing, that's always going to be our first indication. And so just to give you some history of 24, you do see those numbers for the first week of school, the end of first semester, the second week of May. So this slide should look familiar. This was something that we did talk about back in May. And so really the only thing I'm gonna just kind of emphasize is that, sad to say, when you compare that to last year, 2025, all the checkpoints are negative in that sense. So as we start thinking about for this school year, the superintendent did share some items that could be areas of concern, I guess you could say. Virtual schools, rezoning, the immigrant enforcement, and the other items. So we are doing an uphill battle in trying to make sure that this year enrollment numbers are maintained or better, but it's just that there's a lot of factors going against us. But at the end of the day, we are funded through ADA, or average daily attendance. And so, again, bringing up the history, 23, 24, we had so much for budgeted ADA, and then other pieces for what actually did happen. So the first year was great. We didn't have that big increase or compared to budget. We hit numbers for this past year almost. We were just short 66 ADA kids for that 14,500. We did initially have a higher number for this upcoming school year. We did retract that and say, you know what, let's just maintain. So 14.5 is our budget number for this upcoming school year. And so, so what did that 66 ADA shortfall, what does that mean for dollars wise? And again, we are using kind of like a weighted average dollar amount, 8,500. So times 66, you're talking $561 of revenue that we technically kind of budgeted for, but not necessarily hit that particular mark. Now, we do have other revenues, and that's where we're hoping to fill in the gap for this past school year. And so, again, we need to just kind of minimize that enrollment loss, that ADA loss, for this upcoming school year.
Sure, but before I forget,
No problem.
budgeted ADA last year, 14,500. But we have less kids enrolled this year, right, than last year. And we're maintaining, like you said, 14,500. But we didn't even hit that number last year in 2024. Is it safe to budget it at 14,500 again this year, even though our numbers of enrollment are less and we didn't even hit it last year? will it come back to bite us? in the- you know?
We are going to be working with our principals throughout the year to ensure that we are going to hit those numbers. Now, we are tying the second incentive allotment, a stipend. So if you remember the payment that we paid for $1,000 in December, we had enough budget within our, in next year's budget for that.
Surplus.
The surplus of this year. And so, but not the second. And so I don't want to call it, but if we hit the numbers for this year, meaning the 14.5 or even more, if we do hit those, then the second stipend would be available. So if we don't hit it, well, that's bad for the district, but then it's going to hurt everybody's pocketbook. So we're hoping that with everybody doing their best to encourage the kids to come to school, then we will be able to make the second payment. So
I
there
feel
is
like
that incentive.
They do a great job. Even last year, you know, they're always on it. I don't know what they can do differently this year, but hopefully, I don't know, think of something out of the box. But it's just, to me, it's a little, because we didn't hit it last year, and then we have less population this year's enrollment, so hopefully we do. But just kind of scared about that.
Dr. Rivera, a question on that, Mr. Obrero mentioned. Now, is that incentive going to be school by school, or is it going to be district? So, for example, last year, I believe Central and South Palm Gardens, and there was another elementary school that, okay, so if, say, it was last year and this was the incentive, is that school going to receive the 1,000 stipend versus the other schools that didn't meet it will not receive the 1,000 stipend?
We've discussed that.
Okay.
And so far, there's no concrete answer yet.
Okay.
But it's in the plan
Okay,
to reward those that reach the goal.
yeah.
It's in the plan.
Okay. So some of the schools that were close to reaching last year, like say, one of the elementary schools was at 94 and they needed 95 or 96. I guess you'll work on, maybe they'll receive a percentage of that since they were almost close? You know, I don't know. That's up to you all.
Yes. The first stipend is guaranteed,
Correct.
the one for December.
Yes.
The second one is going to depend on this.
Yeah.
And again, we'll look at school by school or as a district.
Okay.
Because if it's a lot lower than this, even though some schools met it, we may not be able to afford it.
Right.
So.
As long as the staff and the
yes.
principals understand it.
In my convocation, I'm going to address this.
Okay.
The importance of it.
Okay.
Can you refresh my mind, what stipend do they receive for?
$1,000,
It's just the
the incentive
It's
stipend,
the second one.
Last year, they had an incentive stipend.
the incentive stipend.
Okay.
first semester is instead of stipend of 1,000. The second semester, it depends on the ADA.
Okay, that's not a retention stipend, that's just an incentive
Yes.
stipend.
Yeah, we're doing that extra. Nobody else is doing it.
No one's doing it. but
Okay, because I did get messages, are you guys doing the retention stipend? And I said, I don't think we're doing that
Well,
anymore.
That's what it is, right? But they're tying it to attendance, the second payment.
Yes.
The first payment's not, but the second
Okay,
payment.
so it's retention / incentive.
Correct.
That's a good name for it.
Incentive or retention? Okay, that's a little confusing.
It kind of transitioned into, from
Yeah.
retention to incentive, but we're trying to retain our students as well, so
Okay,
it's kind of in the mix.
it's in the mix, so that way we can clarify to the people who, some of the staff, are we getting it, are we not? It is retention / incentive stipend based on ADA.
Correct. And then we're probably gonna be second or third highest paid in the valley, but of those first and second, they don't do
No,
that
they- no.
stipend.
No.
So that's what we need to tell the teachers too.
Correct.
I'll tell them
Yeah.
on my convocation.
And the only reason we'll be third probably because the Edinburgh and PSJ wait till the very last minute to approve to make sure they're at least $100 more than
Yes.
everybody else.
But once again, this is only for the schools that met the ADA, not for
He's still-
everybody.
He's still planning it.
He's still
We're-
planning.
Okay. Just clarifying, because I know we're gonna get those
Right.
questions.
Right.
But it's still,
But-
it's kind of state.
Yeah.
But
again-
last year, who got it? Just the schools who met the
Everyone.
ADA?
No,
Everybody, no
everyone.
matter what, no matter, okay.
And again, we're the only district that I know of that
Correct.
gives this stipend. No one else does.
We are.
Plus, if every school reaches the ADA, then the district gets additional money, you know? Correct, Dr. Rivera?
Correct.
You know, this year, we didn't get that additional money, correct?
No. We actually lost.
Yes.
We lost.
We lost money because
The
of the
shortfall
ADA.
was about $500,000.
Yeah.
And in '24, we received the money. So
Correct.
we were in good shape in '24.
Correct.
Because it went over by 522.
Mm-hmm.
So we had the additional monies, and that went for the stipends.
Okay. So like you mentioned, Mr. Stack, that there should be a plan for that, so
Okay.
that way
Yeah.
we can do better than they need. And I think we can get recommendations from the 3 schools that reached their ADA, and what is it that they did versus the other schools, maybe they didn't do the same thing. You never know. Okay? All
In
right.
fact, tomorrow I'm meeting with the principals, and I'm going to bring this up.
Okay. Continue, Mr. Robledo.
And so when we start thinking about pre-registration numbers, again, when we look to last year, at peak enrollment, 16,316, we are about 500 short of that as of right now. So the hope would be that in the next weeks, that we have the big push to get ready for school. And again, it's every district. You have some kids that just show up the first day of school. I mean, the parents, that's just the way it goes. But it's always nice to have those numbers in the bag saying we have the 16,500. That is kind of like our internal goal, because even after the first day of school, it starts fluctuating.
What was the number for pre-registration last year? I don't know if you have it. If you don't, it's fine. But that's pretty big. 15,827 is pretty good. Because your 16.3 is in November.
Mr. Denham, I think it was lower.
Yeah, so it's a little bit low, we're a little bit lower than we had been. The way I'm seeing it after we're looking at it, but again, we are turning over and meeting with everyone we can. Summer Intake Center cleared up this past Thursday, and we've worked tremendously, very diligently at trying to raise this number. But again, as Mr. Robledo said, really our goal is 16,500, a firm 16,500.
Awesome.
To get them in the building. Because again, it's one thing to get them registered or pre-registered. It's a different aspect to get them enrolled, which means they've been in a seat.
Mm-hmm. I'll stop asking questions, sir. Until they're done.
Those are good questions. Go ahead.
And so whenever, again, budgeting wise, when we see the number of kids, again, we do our staffing ratios. It should follow, our teachers' numbers should follow our student numbers. Kids go up, we hire more staff. When the kid numbers go down, that's where it gets real hard. And so one of our reports in our audit book gives a 10-year history, and I'm not going to share the 10-year history, but it's one of our reports that we share in our audit book. Every single staff, how have we been holding up? And we did have higher teacher numbers, but as we kind of do some reshuffling and try to be more leaner staffing levels, that is where we were seeing about 1,000 teachers on staff. And so, again, it should mirror the percentages of what our kids are coming in. So I know we haven't talked too much about the taxes for the school district. We do know that during the summer session over there in Austin, they are talking about making their final tweaks to property taxes. And so instead, I know we've been sometimes we have a meeting in August to adopt the tax rate. Last year we did do it in September. This year, Mo Casey is recommending kind of holding off and do that in September. So we are working with the Hidalgo County Appraisal District, with the tax office, and we will be preparing for a September adoption. A lot of things are changing at the state level. If you look at the November election, 2 items is going to be on the ballot, and it's going to be letter C, which is the regular homestead exemption moving from 100,000 that had just barely changed to 140,000. And for those that are 65 years plus and also are disabled homeowners, their exemption to increase from 10,000 to 60,000. So those two items is on the ballot, and we already been told, just know that it's going to pass. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to vote no to those. And so we are working with the tax office to finalize our tax rate. It'll be put in the newspaper for the September board meeting. But as soon as I do have those numbers, I will be sharing with the superintendent, and he will, as a board update, will get you that information as fast as possible. Letter B, I know I kind of skipped around. Depending on our final property values, if it's more than what the state has projected, there may be compression for our tax rate. So as soon as we do see that, the final numbers, we will include that in our update. Last year there was compression for us. This year there might. So all that means is that because our tax values increase way more than the state level, then our property taxes will take a double decrease in that sense. But we are working with the numbers, and we'll have something very shortly on that.
Thank you.
Now I'm finished.
Is it the last slide?
That's the last slide.
Okay. Any questions? We'll start with the Sustaita right here.
Yes, can you put the slide back about ADA from 2024, 2025, that one right there? My question is this: as a parent, before I was on the school board and after I was a teacher, I wasn't clear about the rules of average daily attendance. As a parent, if my child was sick in the morning, well, you're not going to school today, even though they weren't that sick. Let's say my throat hurts, my stomach hurts. Okay, well, we'll give you Tylenol, see how you feel. But they didn't go to school all day, right? So my thing is, as a parent, if I would have known that my child could show up to school in the morning, and let's say, I don't even know right now, they have to be there by 10 a.m. or can they be there?
10:30.
10:15.
So they can't get there at 8 in the morning when they're sick, but mom says you need to go to school. They have to wait for 2 hours before they can leave?
They have to be there at the official attendance time.
Okay, so let's say I'm gonna take you at 9:30, stay there till 10:15 because they're sick, and then I can pick you up with a doctor's excuse that I took you to the doctor. See, those are things that I, as a parent, did not know or understand. So what I'm trying to say is if we can educate the parents, you know what, if your child feels sick, or just give tips or advice to the parents on, because I'm sure that some of them are willing to help. I know I would be willing to help as a parent if I knew these rules, but I didn't know. And sometimes even still, I'm on the board and I was a teacher and I still have questions. So making that clear to parents on this is how you can help us and this and that, you know, of course, we don't want to take advantage of that. We don't want parents to say, well, okay, fine, then. But just give some kind of advice to where they can understand how ADA affects their child's learning and coming to school, how, you know, the resources they have is because of when they come to school. So that would be my comment on this, is just educate the parents. And the teachers too, because sometimes maybe some teachers might just say, you know what, I took attendance at 8 o'clock and that's it. So just educate everybody on that. That's my comment on this. And then you made a comment, and I was just thinking that the comment about the teacher to the students, we have less kids, so probably less teachers are that's what's going to be happening. And I was just thinking a couple of weeks ago, I had brought this up about the teacher to student ratio. And I know that having less kids means less kids in the classroom, right? Which we're saying, well, you don't need that. But I feel like it's an investment into the child, because if you leave a teacher there with 18 kids instead of 23, she or he is going to be able to do a lot more with the classroom. So I kind of see it as an investment, not so much, well, we need to get rid of the teachers, and I don't think we have yet anyway. All teachers have stayed, no one's lost their job. But if it would happen like that, you know, instead of I don't want to say making up positions, but having other positions that really aren't that necessary, and let the teachers do their work in the classroom, I think that was just something to think about. Even if we have less kids, smaller classrooms not necessarily a bad thing. So that's my comment on that. And that's it.
Any on the update here?
Not necessarily with anything that's here. I had initially seen something about the possibility of talking about TIA, but since it's not on the agenda, can I bring it up or?
Part of the budget. You-
My question is, and I was asking others if they've had any comments from employees that received an amount, but that was a little deceptive after they received the final amount because there was a significant reduction in what they got, almost a 30% decrease. Is there a reason for that?
So the way I've had individual meetings with teachers who had that same concern. The way that I've been sharing back to the staff has been, we are following the spending plan that was pre-approved by TEA that the district submitted. And so when we talk about TIA, there is an application process where we share, this is how we are gonna do the different designations, what are the criteria, but then we also talk about the how-to. The 90% for the person who is designated, the 10% for the district, those are locally defined. Part two, and this is the one that the staff kind of didn't like as much, is that 90% that's going to go to the staff. The big question is, and this is mine, how do we apply the employer benefits? So automatically they always have to pay the employee portion, but the question is the employer. So whenever we make a payment, there are employer benefits like workers' comp, unemployment, TRS, that we pay on behalf of the employee. So the question is, who's going to pay that? And in the plan from day one, it was going to be from that 90%.
We weren't
And
aware
so-
of that, even as a board, I mean, at least me as a board member, I didn't know that part.
So it was part of the spending plan. It was part of the handbook. I guess that was written 2-3 years ago. And so in that documentation, business office will always just follow the plan. And so when the 90% was announced to the staff, there is, in my head, a two-step process. One is to determine the employer portion, deduct that from the 90%, and then that is what the leftover funds is what will show up on their individual paychecks. There has been a little
Is that deducted from
discussion.
the regular pay?
I'm sorry?
Is that part deducted from the regular pay, the employer portion that you just mentioned?
For that one check?
No, the regular employer pay.
No,
Or
it
employee
is
pay.
something that normally the employer pays, but it is an allowable expense from the plan, I guess, or for the 90%.
I'm not in favor of that.
So there's two ways to go about it in my head. One is to make a decision to say, well, do we make it a 70-30 split? Because somebody still has to pay for the benefits.
Well, there are costs. There are
And so-
employer costs.
So one way is to say, is this going to be all inclusive within the TIA, the teacher incentive allotment? Or are we, the district, going to chip in to make the payment for the employer portion? Again, every district's different. Harlingen says same as us. But then you have PSJA who did it the other way around, where the local budget would pay for the employer portion. Either scenario, all I need to be told is which way. Because if it is something that the district would have to pitch in, then I have to cut the budget to make.
So, Mr. Rivera, what were the teachers told?
That
So-
was my
That's
question.
my question. What were the teachers told?
In the board meeting, so I'll answer that.
Oh,
So the TS spending plan, I believe came to the board, if I'm not mistaken, early 2022. I want to say it was August or September, and it said that the district would put in that portion of the, not the district, I'm sorry, it would come out of the teachers, right? The district's portion of TRS and benefits would come out of the teachers' allotment, right, at that part. However, that year, we didn't see this scenario happening because that's the year that we had a denial, right? But that continue to be part of the TIA spending plan. So we're barely experiencing those scenarios this summer.
And I think that's, we didn't know about it,
Right.
unless one of you did, right?
None of us.
But-
we
I
didn't know
don't
about it.
Every single line,
But
unfortunately.
I think, the teachers, if they would have known about it, they say, okay, you're gonna get, I think for the first phase was 14,200 and something, the regular. So if they would have known ahead of time, you're gonna be deducted 10% automatically, and then you're gonna be deducted the different FICA or whatever,
Right.
then they would have known ahead of time. I think that's what their questions were.
Yeah, there's a board meeting specifically when we were enrolling into this where it was asked, not about the tier,
Right.
about the benefits, but it was asked, are we gonna be withholding 10%? Like the other district had options, and it was stated, no. That was the
Correct.
response, that no, that we weren't as a district.
Right.
That's what some remember. I remember as well too, and I got contacted and I said, no, I remember that portion. It was over summer, I didn't have the facts or information, but I just said, we'll have a meeting and we'll figure this out. But-
Right. And as a teacher or a staff, of course, a teacher, they probably thought only the income taxes were gonna be deducted, not everything else. Plus, you mentioned the 10%, that the district was gonna utilize to pay, whatever you mentioned, Mr. Robledo, correct?
Yeah, the staff member is overseeing it or whatnot, but
Right.
I didn't know. And I've been arguing with employees all week about this because I wasn't aware. There's no way we're taking away our employer deductions because that doesn't make sense to me. And they're telling me, no, you're wrong. And so.
And then
I
the
guess
other
I
thing
was.
too is on behalf goes straight to TRS, right? We see it as income, but it doesn't, what?
On behalf,
Doesn't apply here.
it does not apply to this.
So that's why I don't know what the deductions are, but I said, well, we'll have to look at that because I know it was like, they were mentioning too, that it was like, it was a very large chunk, 10% plus. Benefits usually run, correct me if I'm wrong, 19, depending, like around 19 average, maybe a little bit
Yes.
less % of your salary or
Right.
whatever
I mean,
money you're making.
when you see,
That's a big chunk.
when you see 14,000, it's pretty deceiving.
Yeah.
Because now they're getting 9,000 something, and it's like, wait a minute, where did all that money go?
And Coach Quay had mentioned that to me, saying, hey, it's 30%. I said, well, if the district's taking 10, which I know we had said we
I can-
weren't.
I understand
And then
10%.
20% for benefits, yeah, it's 30.
I understand
It's
that.
30%, yeah.
30, 33?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I agree with him. That's a lot.
So my question is this, can we still edit this whole plan to not have this taken out of the employees who will be receiving it in the next couple of years, or how does this work? Can this be edited?
Yes, the pay plan. yeah.
The spending plan, the 90-10, that's part of our application
Yeah.
that got sent off in April. But the spending plan, the employer's costs can be.
Okay. I did receive a chart from some of the employees. It says, this is how much you'll be taking away for your district Medicare, which is 1.45%, right? And the district TRSB, 2%, which is usually what the district pays. So just for a recognized teacher, that's about $400. For masters exemplary, it's even higher that they get taken away, which us as an employer should have been paying. So I understand that they're upset because they're paying the employer part of those taxes. So if you guys would be in agreement, and this maybe could be for another meeting, of course, I would rather us.
I agree.
So
do
just
that.
FYI, just so that you can have a dollar amount to this, we're talking about $400,000 to $500,000. That's what the benefits that we're talking about. And so let's just play it safe, $500,000. The next thing I would have to do is cut from somewhere. So that's where we'll work with cabinet to say, well, if you want this to occur, in other words, for the district to pay for their benefits, then in a sense, TIA is not self-sufficient. We would then have to put in $500,000 and pay out the normal 1.8 million. And that's with on the understanding that the numbers didn't change for next year. And so if one of the things for TIA for this upcoming school year is that the number of teachers that are going to be hopefully eligible and possibly get funded, it's going to go up. So it's not going to be 200 teachers, crossing our fingers, let's say 270, just to make up a story. So it's no longer $500,000, it'll probably be somewhere around 750,000 or whatever the number would be. And so I just need to be told by cabinet, who would it cut?
To ourselves, so workers' comp, we're self-funded.
No, but it's still a brand new cost.
But it's still like, we're just moving from one function to another function.
These are brand new dollars that I had to now worry
But
about.
we're paying ourselves though.
We're paying ourselves, but that's what the whole idea, because somebody's gonna get hurt down the road.
Well, do we want to hurt our teachers or do we want to get rid of a curriculum or something? I mean,
750,000, that's what I just need to be told what to cut from.
How much is 10% of everything you took away from them?
So it was about maybe closer to 20% of what this employer portion. So if I were to have redone this year's numbers, we had 2.1 million as part of the TIA allotment. So 20% of 2 million is about 400 to 450.
What's 20% though? What are you talking about?
That's all the benefits. that the district paid.
But what I'm saying is that we kept 10% of their check anyway.
That is for a MAP,
but how
which
much
is
how much was it?
30% total.
So 10% equals 200,000.
Right, the 200.
So it's paying for MAP and a few staff
Resources,
members for that.
Paying for MAP?
But MAC is like a general thing that
So-
we use.
Not for TIA purposes.
Yeah, but we use it for LSG.
Right.
I'm just saying for our purposes, we use it district-wide. It's not just for
Yeah.
TIA teachers.
So again, it's trying to find a funding source to pay for this instead of local funds.
Well, you're the guy, man. You gotta figure it out.
So
Yeah, I don't think
yeah.
that's.
And you know, and that's kind of like, I have questions too. Like, I understand everybody's talking about 10%, 20%, but realistically, I know that you were stating earlier that we have to wait for the financial audit that comes in late, right? But realistically, the numbers are in. They're already in the system. Like, we already know what we finished the 24-25 school year. And that's kind of why I wanted to put this on the topic, so I'm gonna cut straight to the chase, you know? I really want to know where we stand. And the only reason I'm asking you this, and the administration and Dr. Rivera, is because at the end of the day, when we were given the proposed plan at the beginning of the year, we were told, I'm going to take you back a little bit further, 23-24. That financial audit's already prepared now. So we come out of that 23-24 school year and we're told that we have a surplus. We have we were operating, we finished the year and we have a surplus. It was somewhere around $12 million, et cetera, somewhere around there, the figure. It's actually posted online as far as the report. But that surplus, okay, when you looked at the report, right, you're thinking, oh, we're just operating where we have a big surplus. But that surplus, a portion of that was the ESSER funding that we got back. It was also the interest earned. And then we did have a small increase in ADA. Out of that surplus, 5-point-something% was the ADA increase. So it wasn't like it was the majority. Now, we bank and we operate based on ADA, right? But the figure at the time, it was outstanding. It was great, right? Yeah, that's what we're supposed to do. But then we go into that summer, right? We give out raises, very, very huge raises, very large. Usually administration raises are 1 to 2% on general. That's what you see in normal times. 3-4%, success, it's great. It's a great thing to do. We give out raises, we give out stipends. The stipends and loans are bonuses, retention to keep people or whatever the case may be, but they were bonuses, right? Free money for staff. So what I'm trying to say is that when we finish the 23-24 school year and then we go into the 24-25, but knowing that we were banking and hoping that we'd hit ADA and it would cover everything, then we would have a surplus. So my question is here, because we've been talking about surplus and our budget and et cetera all year long. And there's some other factors, but I'll bring up those other factors as soon as you answer my question, because in June, when you presented the 24-25 budget currently standing and showing us the 25 and 26, it showed that there was a deficit there. Because we said that we were going to have operations, and I'll tell you, we said that we were going to have $201,861,000 of revenue, and that we were going to spend for the year $200,656,176. That was what we were proposed and told at the beginning of the year. This is the proposed budget. This is what we're going to spend. This is how we're going to operate. But in June, right, in that same meeting, I kind of was asking questions. I wanted to kind of go a little harder, but I didn't because it was full of parents and students. But in June, it was showing that we're currently operating at $223 million for the 24-25 school year. Correct? Yes.
So a majority of those costs, it still goes back to the.
Some was construction.
The food, the
right.
construction projects that are part of the
right.
fund
general
balance,
fund, right.
Items. So
yeah, that's because there's a total deficit of 31 million, but part of that was the construction monies that was taken out and put for construction. Mm-hmm. The other portion, that's the question that I have, because I'm looking at the numbers, but the only thing is that the instructional costs that we're going to spend that year are much higher in the beginning, this is the thing that I have, and this is my opinion, right? I'm going to be factual when it comes down to funding and it comes down to operating. This is the one that I just really need answers for, right? And I'm hoping that I'm wrong. But at the beginning of the year, we were told that we were going to have total instructional costs, salaries and whatnot, at $93,845,000. That was the figure that was put out there. But we're looking at now, just currently, we still haven't finished off the year. We still have payroll to close out, right? So there's still a couple tallies adding up. And that one's at $107,156,000 and some change. That's a $14 million gap in payroll. And I'm just stating this is a $14 million gap from the predicted cost on payroll to the end. Now, I know for a fact that every single district, before they give out contracts, they run numbers. Who's staying, who's going, restructuring, promotions, demotions, et cetera, salaries. It's all on the spreadsheet in an Excel sheet, because I know we've all seen it when Dr. Coronel was here. So that exists. So my red flag here, okay, and I've already had other red flags, because I'm going to be honest with you. I was getting people reaching out to me and telling me, staff was that, hey, stop. They weren't telling on any employee. They weren't mentioning names. They just said, you guys need to stop spending because there's some glitches with your numbers, okay? And I checked and I verify, right? LSG, that's what they say to do. And that's what I'm being presented and told. But now I come here in June, and then I see that there is a deficit there. And then on the instructional costs, we're $14 million. That's a lot of money. If you said, hey, we're going to spend 93, but we actually spent 107, that's $14 million difference from what was proposed on staff. Everybody owns a business knows when I show up to work, you know exactly who's showing up. Medico knows exactly how many directors and supervisors or coordinators he has showing up on Monday, right? So those are costs that can't deviate and be dictated, or you have a margin of error. Some people leave, I picked up a couple people, but that number there is the one that's kind of concerning to me, okay? And it's concerning to me because in June, we went ahead and gave out another round of raises. We increased our operational costs for next year. But were we also carrying over an operational deficit from the previous year? You see what I'm saying? Because if we did carry an operational deficit from the previous year, 24-25 into 25-26, and it is significant like that, and now we just had a change where we went out and gave raises and stipends. You see, I just made operating even more expensive. And then just like Ms. Ustaita said, you had a drop in enrollment. Okay, your ADA, since I've been here, I know because when I looked at all the years here. For 9 years back, you're always off 1,300 to 1,500 students from your enrollment, right? That's traditional here. I don't know why, but they just stick around that range. My worry is, it's kind of was like that day when I said, if what we're doing, are we going to be able to sustain? And these are like red flags for me that kind of other people were telling me about and reaching out to me about, and I ignored. So what is?
They don't know all the answers.
Exactly. That's why I'm.
So some of the things that we do get to work with is with the whole team.
Right.
So in a sense, they have a very skewed bias.
Right.
Interpretation of certain things. Luckily.
And I'm not banking off of them.
We do work with other staff of the district to make sure that all the funding is in the appropriate places. And so we did get to work with our federal programs department, which used to be called external funds.
Right.
We're going back to the old school way of saying it.
Right.
And so there is other funding to help with this item. So the numbers that you were using for the June meeting, luckily, it's not the final numbers.
Right.
And so that's why we're working towards November to get those numbers finalized. And so this is some of the items that we do work with Cabinet and with Dr. Rivera to ensure that, hey, how are we going to end the year? How are we going to start the new budget year?
Right.
And in a sense, it's just making sure that everyone's budgeted at the appropriate place. So sad to say that person does not know the whole picture.
And like I said, it was people like just from the district. I don't want to single anybody out.
We know who those people are.
Yeah, and that's the other portion I want to bring up too about that too. But the question is, do we have a deficit? At this time? Like the books are closed June 30th. Like we're in July 28th, so we've had a month to look at everything. So
the deficit is technically using fund balance.
Right,
to
savings to cover
show
a balance.
the different construction projects. And so.
But none of that is for operational deficit. It's just straight construction. See, that's my question here. And I know fund balance, but.
And no problem. And so any of those questions could always be shared to the superintendent, and then that way we have enough time to actually put together a good answer.
Yeah, because, that's the report that I need, you see, because we need to see, the board needs to see, because if they're coming and saying, hey, I need new positions, kind of like Mr. Saito was saying, hey, some positions should be created, things like that. But if we can't, we can't. Like, we are a board that's fiscally responsible and has been. We built up a very large general fund, through multiple superintendents. We stayed on the path so that we could have a savings that was large enough to sustain us in case we do hit a roadblock, right? That was the whole point, because every single district in the Rio Grande Valley people have asked me, how did you do it? And I'm like, well, based on information, right? But at the case may be, though, if we do have a deficit, we need to address it, especially if it's a large one. When the $2 million margin is okay.
Because we use the fund balance on a one-time basis.
That we used maybe about 17 million. And so it's going to show, it has to show on our books somewhere. And so.
Because you have a 31 million, from your last presentation, it's $31 million deficit. I know 17 is from the construction.
So there is.
And the other one.
Yeah, so again, those are interim financials, they're not the final.
Right. And what is the response as far as the proposed budget being $23 million off, other than construction? Because I was going line by line.
So we could go back and provide a report.
Right. And then also for the 25-26 school year, at the last meeting, it was said that we were going to replicate and carry over last year's budget to this year's budget. I want it worked on. Like, I'm sorry, we got to work on it, because anybody at home, your budget doesn't stay the same year for year. The car broke down, you bought another car, the insurance went up, your taxes went up. There's no way that we can replicate and change the same, especially when we've been adding salaries, stipends, positions, et cetera. We have to be very cautious that we can sustain what we're doing. And that's my main focus here. And right now at this time, there's a lot of red flags that I need answers for, and I think the whole board.
To be shared to the superintendent, then we could answer those.
Okay.
And good points there, Mr. Los Santos, but we're still in the fund balance, because you mentioned fund balance, right? We still have the 3 months that we should have. Because I believe we had more than the 3 months.
Well, that was the point. The reason we saved that, we created the ESSER deficit. The $15 million ESSER deficit was created specifically by the board. We did that, we started doing that when Canales was here and when Valdez came in, Dr. Valdez. And we did that to supplant so that we can build up the general fund to have for emergencies. And when the 20 million was taken out of there for construction, we were told that with the surplus, it was going to be replenished, and that's in a recorded meeting. So we did that because most districts will never have an opportunity like that again, where the federal government comes in and says, use my money and save yours. Never has Weslaco hit those numbers as far as in the general fund, and the only reason we did it was because federal monies came in and said, do it. And we did, right? We started making that move, I think with Mr. Aguilar was there when that push was going over to switch over there with Sanchez. And I think that really took place with Valdez, and they started transferring over teachers and whatnot. Coronado did the same, Dr. Rivera did the same when he came in too, right? Put them all in there, let's build up the general fund. Everybody contributed to that. And the thing is that helps you in the future because it gives you financial stability and strength, right? The one thing is that you operating and you're getting great grades. The other thing is to show the taxpayers we're fiscally responsible and look at our general fund because that's future bonds, right? That's future improvements and things like that for schools. So that too is what is the plan? We were told it was going to get replenished. How much have we used, right? And then what is the timeline or how are we going to add to that every single year? Because that's something that we owe not only to our community, but also to our staff and those kids, you know. We want to make sure we put that back.
And I believe Dr. Rivera, I'm sure, will provide us with those updates to make sure, you know, like, those are good points, Mr. Los Santos, so that way we can make sure that we're responsible, especially for this coming year. Okay. Any other questions?
No, just to cut to the chase and not beat around. So the TIA thing again, it can be edited and we can fix it, right? That's like the most important question for me because.
So if we want to say that the employer will pay for those employer benefits, then we just need to know where to cut the $750,000 for that.
Okay.
Can we put an item on the agenda at the next meeting, sir?
We can.
And maybe we can, I'm not saying let's get rid of anybody, but you know, with that, the compensation plan has positions in there. I don't know if they're all filled, I don't know if there's vacancies, but just really take a hard look at those positions, to make sure that everything we have in there is necessary and that we're not just sticking people in a position because of whatever X reason. Let's just take a really good look at that compensation plan and then, you know, whatever other expenses we have to, because I know that we ask for a lot. We ask for stipends and we ask for this and we give us for the staff. But I know it's hard because you have to cut from somewhere. So it's not easy, but if we take a good hard look at that, maybe we can come up with a plan. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Castillo?
Yes, sir.
I know you had several questions.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. All right, so I do have a couple. On our college career and
Readiness?
the one for
CCMR?
the 18 to 26.
The development center, college career.
That one. Can we? Here's one avenue of kind of generating extra funds. I mean, specifically for that program is looking at an 1882 agreement. Region 1's a good partner. They have a couple of 1882 agreements out there, and I know the leadership really likes this program too. Can we explore that potential of getting into an 1882 agreement with Region 1 so they could run our CC?
Ms. Solano has an answer.
We're meeting with them.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, because we get $1 million
Yep.
right off the bat. All right, great. Check. I was writing notes for what Mark was saying too. Hold on, I lost my place. So, like this year, kind of on the funding thing on the ADA, our performance, we did really well academically, Doc. So good job on that. Like, A-rated high school, Weslaco High, Central's A-rated, a couple, a bunch of our elementaries are A-rated. I think if we're out there and we take the time to advertise this performance, and then also this whole thing about the dinner for kids, that could help in incentivizing parents to enroll their kids into school. And so I know we have a really good PR department, but I think we really need to shine a light on those accomplishments because that's amazing, right? So I would like to see the I statement, right? Especially the after-school meals and all of our newly A-rated campuses and the ones who sustained as well.
We can do that, yes.
Who was
Ben,
talking about
I'll
this?
just see if I can add also, Mr. Nieto had, and just to add to those accolades from Weslaco ISD, we did get 5 area school systems were recognized as 2025 Districts
Oh, yeah,
of
Mr.
Distinction
Nieto
by
said that.
Texas
Yeah.
Arts
Oh, yes.
Education Association. And out of the whole valley, only 5 districts, and Weslaco ISD was one of them. So I know a lot of parents look for some good
Yeah.
fine arts programs in schools, so we did get that. Congratulations to the fine arts and department for that. Add that one to the list. before I
Yeah,
forget.
I mean, yeah.
That's
sure.
something we can, at the next board meeting, recognize Mr. Fernandez and the rest.
Yeah, because that's good
Will
stuff.
be brought up for
Okay,
the next meeting.
okay.
But then let's try to figure a way to advertise that
Yes.
to our community so they could, like, I have a daughter who's really into sports, but I have a son who just likes to play piano. So you know what I mean? So things like that. And then somebody was bringing up, the teacher counts. It was in the presentation. And then I think Mark brought it up as well when he was speaking and asking us questions. Can we look into, and can somebody potentially bring us a draft of maybe some policy? Because how many folks do we generally have retire at the end of the year? Like, how many folks retire at the end of this year?
I will talk to HR.
Yeah, I don't know.
We had a large retirement window during COVID, but
Yes.
recently it's been very
It's
minimal,
been,
like, less than
right.
10 a year.
Oh, wow.
Right, last time it wasn't that
Yeah,
many
it
on the
wasn't
retirement
that
sheet.
many.
I don't remember, we get the list, but
But
I
yeah,
don't remember.
I just scanned it.
We
It's not
don't
very
get a lot, especially now with TIA.
Right, yes.
And pay raises, some are hesitant to retire. They want to wait a few more years.
So, people leave throughout the year and whatnot, and then people retire at the end of the year. What if instead of just replacing these vacancies, so we're not, 1,016 teacher count, this year we're 1,018, instead of just replacing them, can we do some type of analysis to see if they need to be replaced, or we could shuffle folks around? So that Mr. Robledo's not getting mad at us that we have more teachers than we have less students.
And that's
the
what
following
We
year?
do this all the time.
We
Dr.
do?
Vera,
Okay.
At the beginning of
I was
the
going to say
year,
that.
we move teachers around when there's vacancies.
Maybe you could kind of incorporate just kind of a report to the board as far as that's concerned, just so we're kind of aware as well. And then, what else do I got in here? I'm hesitant to ask this question, but do we have any idea of what the compression is going to be this year?
I'm crossing my fingers for 0. So one of the things that you look to is what was last year's tax values versus this year's. And so 2.5% is kind of like what the state is saying. I think this may be where the protest made a big effect. And so I'm seeing more of a flat number. So initially I had a number of, oh my gosh, I'm going to increase like 12 to 15%. I want to say on the 25th, which is a few days ago, we got the latest draft from the county, and they're saying that we are now flat based on the protest. So we had to have been more than 2.5% to have compression.
So Governor Abbott, when he announced the special session, he put in property tax relief again. I don't know what that is or what that looks like, but I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening. But you know, whenever there's compression, there's always kind of an opportunity to see if there's a potential maybe for a bond election in May or something for the other things that we need. If we could just kind of be on the lookout for that. I think November would be too close, but potentially May.
Next November, I'm saying wink, wink. But it's always going to go back to the superintendent, and we'll follow his lead.
Yes.
And so in the next month or so, we'll have
I don't want a bond election next November. I'm sure 3 other people are not going to want a bond election that November either.
or yeah, I'm so sorry. I didn't even think about that.
So anyway, but yeah, I mean, we could do November or May. That law didn't pass as far as that you have to have it on a general election. Just has to be uniform election date. But yeah, those are kind of my only comments as far as that. Just let's be on the lookout for that.
I have a couple of questions, but this are updates on different projects. The tennis courts over at Weslaco High School and Weslaco East, resurfacing or completely doing it. Weslaco High, where are we with that? Because I know that Weslaco High, I believe last year, couldn't play any tennis matches there, because I know I saw the court and it was cracked big time. But I don't know, what's the update on this, Mr. Medico?
The project is currently bidding right now. It's out on the street for bidding.
So this year they won't be able to play, say, host a tournament there?
It depends on the schedule that we have for the construction, sir. So if we're able to get something done this fall, they may be able to get on it next spring.
Okay, because some people had asked on that. How about the swimming pool demolition? I think we had mentioned something.
Yes, on that one, we're working with the contract, and only because of the back and forth with the engineer to get that project going with the engineer. They had some comments, so we're going through legal to review those comments, and it's just the back and forth right now, negotiations.
Okay. And how about the central gym demolition? That was also this past year.
Yes, so that one, we're working through there needs to be asbestos abatement first. And we've got the PO ready for the contractor who's going to do the abatement first before we can demolish. But the demolition contractor is already in line for it.
Okay. And I think Coach Serna had one also on the middle school tracks. He had...
No, the middle school tracks, just the update at Barry Hogue, are we online with that? Are we on?
Yes, yes. So that's another one of those. We're finalizing the contract with the contractor.
So 3 are complete?
Yes.
3,
Three of the tracks. Yes, I saw the one at Central. Yeah, it's a pretty good track.
The only one pending is the Mary Hogan, and that's already in line for construction.
But everything's set, the soil has been rectified, the problem
Well,
with the soil?
that's part of the project, yes. It's been addressed through the project, yes.
On the swimming pool, Medico, are we in the process of entering into a contract with the architect/engineer or with a contractor?
With the engineer.
Okay, so we haven't selected a contractor yet.
No, the engineer is Half Associates, and I know, well, they had some comments on the contract, on the terms and conditions, and so we just provided those comments to the attorney for review.
So once we get that squared away, we'll go out for bid?
Yes, once the engineer gives us the
We don't have a contractor that's already working, and maybe we could just do a change order and add this to the scope so we could save some time?
We can look into the options of doing that, maybe revise the contract.
Yeah.
That would be an
I mean,
option.
yeah, one of our contractors that's currently working that has good reputation, that's close, could mobilize. and all
We'll
that
certainly
type of
look
stuff.
into that.
The flat work, Americo, for the baseball field, softball field, the flat work that was started, or was it started already, or where are we at on that? I know the fencing is going up at Weslaco I,
Yes.
and I know at Weslaco East Baseball had a problem with the slope in right field. Are we addressing that, or where are we at on that?
We're working through that, Coach. I know we reached out to the engineer, and we're still looking at their proposal and whatnot, but we're working through the documentation to get.
There's no timeline for the
We
coaches to know?
don't have that just yet. No, we'll reach out to them and
So if we
find
get
out.
another rainstorm, nothing's been done to that, at Weslaco East, I know they had a problem during the season.
So we're
with that
crossing our
storm.
fingers, and we're hoping it's not gonna be the same type of storm we had that one time with the flooding. And smaller storms, we haven't had that problem. It's with huge rains. But yes, so we're just hoping that we won't get that similar type of rain.
And the fencing along Panther Drive looks like it's coming along pretty good, no?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I was
It
out
is.
there the other day. And I noticed the pool, no movement over there.
No, that's what we were talking about, the contract with the engineer.
And what about the scoreboards? Where are we at with that?
So the scoreboards, also the contractor is ready to get going. We had a two-part, we bought the scoreboards, but the forensic engineering company, Robert Kistner, came back with recommendations to replace the
I remember
structures.
that, yeah.
And so it became a two-part project. So now we're ready to go with the structures, and that's
Okay.
about to get started as well.
So for the baseball, softball season coming up, they'll be fine?
Yes, yes, we're looking to get those ready by then.
And one more, I know we're going to start school within a month. Parking areas where I know there's potholes in some schools, to make sure that we follow up, before school starts. Because there's a couple of schools that do have quite a number of potholes. So Dr. Rivera, you can follow up with that.
We'll follow up on that.
Just lastly, before we move on to something else, I wanted to touch base on just the enrollments and just as long, because you guys are there, you guys, I'm not talking about it. As long as we support our teachers and we support our campuses, I mean, we can't go wrong with that, but we've got to show that we're moving in that direction. I mean, that's all I'm going to say. I think Jackie touched up on that earlier too, helping the teachers with the teacher-student ratio, making sure that we are fully equipped to, especially the schools that have a high rate of economically disadvantaged kids. Because to begin with, they're already, struggling a little bit. And to have a teacher that's overloaded with students that need that extra help, it's very difficult. So just keep that in mind.
Okay. Mr. Santos, you had a question?
Yes, I just wanted to make a statement, and these things are never easy, right? I've been here 5 years, and I've publicly asked for certain things on the agenda, and sometimes they're very difficult, but I've always done it in fairness of every single employee within the district and our department, and also the organization as well as the brand, right? To be clear and transparent, and we have a responsibility for that too, as far as financial information and whatnot. That it is as accurate as possible and presented and available for us to review. I asked for this topic specifically, and I gave more than enough time, not waiting for an audit, but to say, what is the final expenditures and what are the revenues? And there's red flags, other than people that were reaching out to me in fall of 2024, spring of 2025. I did what LSG taught me to do, which is to trust and verify, right? I asked questions here at those meetings. Everybody was getting the answers and the responses of our financial state and situation. Today, the numbers presented in June were a major red flag, right? Because they showed something completely different. And we can go around in circles for days on this. But at the end of the day, I think that it's best. This is probably the best thing I'm going to do and ask one board member, and it can be discussed at the next board meeting, whether it's approved or not. It's just something that I feel that I have to do as responsible, that I think that we should probably look at getting a third party, doing a financial forensic audit and getting a third party to go ahead and do that audit and do that review. I think it's essential that we know exactly where our standing is before we continue to make decisions, because our decisions are increasing the expenditures and the overhead and the operations of our school district. Mind you, you've already pinpointed exactly major financial cues. You have a homestead reduction coming in, you have people that are fighting their taxes, you have a drop in enrollment, you have, you're not hitting ADA, as other trustees has hit here. And until we have a clear financial picture of where we stand now, not in December or late fall or early spring, I think it's one, I just need one trustee or whoever wants to support. I think it's be in the best interest of everyone and fair to everybody, our superintendent, our CFO, our business department, those employees that you talk to as well, right? Because you know, there's allegations out there of discussions, intimidation, and then they've been transferred out and things like that. I don't know what the facts are out of those departments, and then not getting the answers, right? I'm going straight to facts here. I'm looking at numbers. I'm looking at what's projected at the beginning of 24-25. I'm looking at the deficit now for that as well, right? And we still don't have the finals. And I think it's fair to everybody, not using internal auditors, and so that nobody feels, you know, that they're going to be put into a tough situation to get an independent review, right? And then based on that, then we move forward and actually get a clear picture. And I think it's the best investment, especially when we have a bond of this size and that we're making major financial decisions. And so I'm going to be, I guess, reaching out for somebody to support me. I'm going to ask that it be put on the agenda because that'd probably be the most fair process to everybody involved in this situation right now. We put on RFA and see who applies. I mean, that's kind of what my general thing was to do, is to do something like that that would be independent from the district with no ties. They could do it. They could do an audit, but just financial, nothing else, no other topics, just a review. And I'm just stating that right now, where I feel, because I want to be honest. I'm not leaving the meeting very comfortable at all based on all the figures that we have and that we've seen and what we've been told.
Good points, Mr. Dos Santos, and if we need to follow up there on the next board meeting and have an audit, the majority of the board members will probably agree, you know, so we can.
Could we get quotes so we don't have to go out for a formal bid, because that takes time, right? So this could be a professional service exemption, so we get 3 or 4 quotes from different companies, that might be quicker. You go out for bids, it takes 2 weeks and then a month.
Well, I know last time we went out for RFAs, but I don't know whatever the process is.
Okay.
I'm not an expert on that level.
Okay. Any other questions? Oh.
Yes,
Jackie.
just one more thing. I was remembering in my head, I know that I had seen NWEA, that we had already approved the price for this, right? So I went back into my meetings, and we did approve the funds in June for the NWEA map, and it was a little over $200,000 with the funds. The account was, I don't know, account 289. But then you mentioned that the TIA, the 10%, was going to be used for this. So I'm confused, because you said we're going to pay MAP with it?
I think Mr. Weslaco mentioned that. At one point, MAP was considered before being approved, Ms. Sustaita, but because MAP, we still have to cover everything that's not LSG, because MAP is only used for really K2, right? For the LSG, we still have to fund all the way to high school. But I believe that 10% is not being funded for MAP, if I'm not correct. I believe it's for the TIA leads. It's salaries.
Oh, okay,
It's not funded for MAP, as we use it as well for other items.
Okay, that confused me, because I'm like, well,
Yes.
we approved the
Yes.
funds here.
Yeah.
And you said it's being used for TIA leads?
Right, so the state calls whoever takes care of TIA a TIA lead, right? Like the staff, it's a salary.
Okay, and how many people do we have on a TIA salary?
So it's 2 individuals. 2 individuals.
Wow, 10% of everybody for 2 individuals sounds like a lot.
It does not pay full salary,
Okay.
but it goes, right, no.
Whoa.
Right.
And
It's
what's the-
partial.
And so these TIA leads?
Right, it's those who lead or direct, right, a TIA for our district.
So
Those
do
who
we
work.
still have a TIA coordinator? 'Cause we had a TIA
No.
coordinator before, right?
No. This is.
I have no idea.
No.
Yeah, we had somebody that was doing that, right? That was rolling out TIA before. They're not doing that no
A
more?
couple of years ago.
Right.
Right. So they're not
Right. Our
involved.
CNI department takes care of TIA with the other duties assigned.
See, so this is what's confusing to me as a board member, because I know there's funds, but I don't know where is all this going? So maybe we can have kind of a report or something like, these are the people taking care of TIA, this is what we're paying, this is what we
Right.
got, the 10%, this is what we paid, just a kind of report to show us the numbers on that. That would help a
Yes.
lot, I think, for us to know where it's going.
We can provide an.
I agree with Ms. Sustaita. I support her 100% on that, on where she's standing there, because TIA is a stipend, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a stipend that's given out to teachers that are in the room meeting instructional goals, right?
Yes, sir.
So if you're telling me you're going to use 10% that you're withholding from their awards, then the reality is how many times are these people going into all these teachers' classrooms? Because it's all based on instruction. The teacher goes in there, they give it their all, they're going home, they're taking stuff home, they're creating plans. These people meet on the weekends. You got a great staff here at WISD. You go by schools, they're there on their own, meeting as departments, you know. You don't have that everywhere else. You don't. As parents, those principals, they know their staff are showing up, still working on lessons and working together as departments, and it's internal, right? I'm always going to say it. I'm not afraid to say it as a politician. Your bang for your buck is in that classroom as soon as that door closes. That teacher is what makes you or breaks you, right? Everybody else is supplemental, and everybody else is making sure we're just on track. But those are the ones that drive our district forward. To take 10% out of their award to say, well, we're going to use it to pay for staff, that's kind of hard to swallow. You know, especially as an educator, it's going to be real difficult because especially I never see that person.
I believe the 10% is already a state kind of guideline.
We can't change that plan, but
Right,
what we
it's-
can change is the employer.
Right, the
employer benefits.
90-10, right. The 90-10 is kind of already kind of a state guideline.
Would the
We don't-
10% cover, I don't know, if it's 20,
Right.
but it at least do half?
Yeah, we take out the other half.
Okay, so,
Well,
Go
that's
ahead.
all I wanted to say. That was just where I stood, that I agreed, and that, I agree with that too, as presentation at the next board meeting on that topic.
so, good workshop, good discussion, and we'll follow up on the different topics that were mentioned by the different board members. Mr. Robredo will also follow with Dr. Vera on actual budget, that we're not in the deficit, so we can sustain, like Mark always says, we need to sustain, especially with all the stipends that we give, the raises that we give, being one of the top schools. You know, Dr. Vera, you do an excellent job there, but we want to make sure that our budget is aligned with what we are receiving, so that way we won't be in the deficit, okay? Any other last comments?
No, just thank you very much. I know it's been about, 2.5 hours almost, so thank you for giving us your time. I know it's been a long day for you guys, so thank you.
Coach Guerra? Mr. Castillo?
Just thank you to everybody. I know, we're asking a bunch of questions, part of our oversight kind of role. So thank you for answering those questions and being honest with us, especially the construction folks and Mr. Robledo too. Also want to say, what Coach Sedna just said, supporting those campuses that need it a little bit more. We always say, equity doesn't mean equal. So I totally agree with what he stated in his comment. And just thank you to everybody. Thank you, Mr. Nieto, for calling this meeting as well.
Yes.
Coach Sedna?
No, just highlight our accomplishments. That's a big push for us. And it's brought up earlier. Thank you all very much.
Any final comments, Mr. Los Santos?
No, just thank you for the information, and thank you for hearing me out and the concerns.
Very good concern. Dr. Rivera, any final comments? No. We're good. Just to follow up on all the questions that we had.
We're a good school district.
Yes, sir.
Are we perfect? No.
No,
Can
sir.
we improve? Yes.
Yes.
But compared to everybody else, we're second to none.
And we have a great
I
superintendent.
know you have concerns, but let me tell you, on the fund balance, those are one-time expenses. So when you spend the money here, you're going to have more expenditures than what you have your revenue. So it's going to be off, but it's a one-year thing. So we are balanced, but they're one-time expenses. You all mentioned things you all want done. They're one-time expenses. So you're going to spend more than what you have, but it's fund balance. And we'll explain that next month.
All right.
I also want to say we have a great superintendent.
No, but but
No one's ever happy in this district.
no, you know
All I
what?
hear are complaints, guys.
That's
And that's okay, that's your job, I understand.
No.
But all I hear is this and this and this.
And
And we work Steph and I work very hard every
yes, you do.
single day.
Yes, you do.
And we don't hide anything, everything is upfront.
Yeah. But you know what? It's good discussions because that will make us better. You as a superintendent, you've always done well, and you'll continue to do well. But when board members have questions, I think it's important to have a workshop. That way, we have an idea of what questions they're asking, what we need to
I
kind
understand,
of.
I understand, it's all negative. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Socrates says a life unexamined is a life that's worthless. So just always ask questions. The philosopher says.
All right,
But
so
nothing bad. Nothing bad.
adjournment. So it's 7:43 and we finish our workshop. All right, thank you.